Mercedes F1 got something new, and we're going to be talking about in today's video. But before we get into it, first off, mean the world if you could like this video, and secondly, if you want more Mercedes F1 content like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit that red button down below. But let's get straight into today's video. So Mercedes actually plan to reintroduce Hamilton's damaged Spa engine after repairs. So Lewis Hamilton has revealed Mercedes have taken the engine that he was using during the Belgian Grand Prix out and are making repairs to it this week, while a different unit goes to his car for the Dutch Grand Prix. So you could say new, and you can also say maybe recycled. The engine he used at Spa was a new one fitted for that weekend. On the opening lap of last weekend's race at Spa, Hamilton collided with Fernando Alonso and the rear of his car sent into the air. A 45G impact was registered as it landed, and Hamilton retired shortly after. They've gone through the whole car, and they're doing work on the engine to make sure we can use it, he said. I think we'll be able to use it. We won't be using it this weekend, obviously, because they're still repairing pieces from the car, so we will find out soon. I feel fine. I've been doing physio and just stretching, and fortunately, I'm good. So Hamilton is actually downbeat on Mercedes' pace, saying that it sucks and the car is slow. So Lewis Hamilton said his Mercedes' lack of performance during the Belgian Grand Prix weekend left him hurting. Hamilton and teammate George Russell battled a lack of stability and too much drag during the weekend at Spa, as they set only the 7th and 8th fastest times in Saturday final qualifying session behind both Ross, Red Bulls, and also Ferraris and Alpines. The faster of the two Mercedes by 0.3 of a second, Hamilton nevertheless qualified almost 2 seconds adrift of Verstappen's pole time and appeared incredulously at the gap when his team radioed to tell him. While Russell finished fourth in Sunday's race, Hamilton's afternoon ended on lap 1 after contact with Fernando Alonso, which we talked about. And speaking after the race, the Briton noted that he was trying hard to remain upbeat despite his car's apparent lack of competitiveness at Spa. I don't want to use the word disappointment because you have to remember there are 2,000 people back at the factory who are working so hard to get it right, Hamilton told media. Of course, I wish we got it right and had upgrades to push forward. I wish we were riding at the front, and also, but that's the way it is. It hurts, believe me, it hurts. But you've got to laugh it off and say, I'm not fighting for a championship. I have a responsibility to keep morale high. We've got to keep pushing and not be discouraged. Yes, it sucks and the car is slow. So obviously, I love where he is coming from when it comes to all of this. I think, what Lewis Hamilton is doing right now is just trying to keep the morale up, in a sense that obviously, whether he's angry or whether he's happy about things, guys, it's really not going to change the outcome. It's not looking like Mercedes are going to win the constructors or even win drivers' championship. So I think, the rest of the season, they should just gain as much momentum as they can for next year or for the next season. And I think that's really important, especially for this, Mercedes team. There isn't going to be a lot of years left in Lewis Hamilton, and, we may see him go earlier than expected, so with all that going on, it should see how it all fans out. Now, Hamilton and Russell say Mercedes should be in a better window at, the Dutch Grand Prix. So after Mercedes and the rest of the field struggled to keep up with Red Bulls in Belgium, Lewis Hamilton has said that the team would rather fare better at Zandvoort, while teammate George Russell urged the team to overcome their qualifying struggles. Hamilton crashed out on lap 1 at the Belgian Grand Prix after an impact that measured 45 Gs after his DNF of the season. So this was actually his first, which was really important to notice. Lewis Hamilton has been doing such a brilliant job for Mercedes despite the car that he is given. So for him to actually get a DNF, I can see why it really does strike, and it really does hurt him, especially as a sportsman and as a driver. He looks to bounce back though, however, at Zandvoort, where rival Max Verstappen dominated his home Grand Prix in 2021. After disappointment in Belgium, Hamilton was asked if they could perform better at Zandvoort. He said, "We hope so. It should be a slightly better window this weekend," he said. So last weekend it didn't look good, and all that confidence that we built over the 5 races, it was like 2 steps forward and 5 steps back kind of feeling. But I think it was maybe a one-off, particularly with the track. And so, yes, I'm definitely hoping. I think it's going to be hard to beat the Red Bulls, so it's going to need something to come away and open up and create that opportunity, but that's always possible, so we'll see. Hamilton also praised Russell for his P4 finish at Spa and said that he himself could have finished second if not for that lap 1 retirement. I honestly do think Hamilton would have got that in the bag. I really saw him really push the pace at the front. Obviously, there was a little incident with Alonso, and that, obviously cut his time completely short. George did a great job in the last race, as he continued to do during this year. It's definitely tough because I think it's probably to have to come second in the last race if I've done the job I was supposed to, but you live and you learn. A reason why this is so important as well is because Mercedes are actually very close at overtaking Ferrari. However, this race did take them, 5 steps backward due to the fact that both Ferrari racers did finish, and obviously Mercedes with Lewis Hamilton wasn't. So we don't have the pace naturally over a single lap. That's something that we're trying to work on. But race pace is definitely key in some places, so I'm thinking we just have to keep on working on that. Not lose our race potential, but try and improve our single lap pace. So I think that is very important to actually understand, especially in the sport of racing. Now, Russell echoed Hamilton's comments about Mercedes' single lap pace and discovered the silver hour's chances at Zandvoort. Being faster in the race than in qualifying has definitely been a bit of a theme for us this season. We're still yet to fully understand why we have such a big swing, to be honest. The swing is probably less compared to Red Bull, but when you look at it compared to the midfield, we're often being out-qualified by Alpine or a McLaren. I was pretty disappointed not to get third position in Belgium because I thought I had done the thing slightly differently. It would have been possible. But we just have to overcome our single lap struggles. It's a shorter lap at Zandvoort than at Spa, but I don't think the gaps will be as big. I'm sure Red Bull and Max are going to be in prime position and they're going to be very competitive. We got a reason to believe that it might be slightly better at Spa, but I think Spa was also a circuit that brought out the worst in our car. So to be honest, we're always going to keep an open mind now. And I think that is very important to actually understand. I like the way Russell answers this question and also Lewis Hamilton. They love to keep that positivity, with everything that is going on, which I think is super important. So Red Bull could be embarking on era of domination, says Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton said Red Bull could be embarking on this element, and he said the chances are very high that that's already happened and they are already on that way. It's going to be very tough for teams to close that gap. Max Verstappen is of course for his second, consecutive title after winning 9 out of the 14 races so far, while Red Bull are poised for their first constructors title since 2013. However, Hamilton said he still believed his Mercedes team could make up the necessary ground to challenge Red Bull. If your car is a fast one this year, it evolves into a faster car the next year. So the gap they will have now will be very hard for anyone from third down under to ever close in the cycle of car design, Hamilton said. We have won the last straight 8 world titles as a team, so we've got an amazing talented engineers. I doubt that they can. There are limitations with budget and wind tunnel and CFD time, but we have to be very clear and precise in the direction we want to go and very efficient in our time. Hamilton praised Red Bull for starting this year's new era of technical regulations so strongly, satisfying that they were a great team and that they have done an amazing job. And he singled out their chief officer, Adrian Newey, for actual praise and saying that his university thesis on ground effect, the aerodynamic phenomenon that has been reintroduced into F1 by this year's rule. Hamilton said they have aero balance great. They've got the ride quality. He doesn't ever have any problems with bumps. When you have a stable platform like that, they had a great car last year as well. Adrian Newey doesn't generally build bad cars. He has built amazing cars over the years. My first championship car was an evolution of one of his cars. I know he did thesis on ground effect floor, so it's no surprise. He's one of the only ones who draws by hands. His understanding has been advantaged them, and they have done a great job. Although Verstappen enjoyed his most dominant win of 2022 in Belgium last weekend, generally the Red Bull and Ferrari have been closely matched on performance. Verstappen have been able to build a 98-point lead over Ferrari's Charles Leclerc, largely because of problems encountered by Ferrari, particularly race strategy errors. Now, this was honestly very, very evident. I don't really know what Ferrari is doing when it comes to their race strategy. It does seem a little bit everywhere, especially last race. They were able to pull it back, but they did make a couple of race errors that I thought were very, very interesting, and I thought were I don't know. I did not see where Ferrari was going with it. So Leclerc said Ferrari struggled to believe Red Bull were suddenly so much quicker from one weekend to another, and that some of Verstappen's advantage was track-specific, and maybe we took some wrong choices. And his teammate Carlos Sainz said it was his feeling that Ferrari would be competitive again at this weekend's Dutch Grand Prix. Now, in other recent news, there was an article talking about how Ricciardo can regain confidence as Mercedes' reserve driver. Now, this may come to a shock, but Daniel Ricciardo's future is still wide open, but a surprising move is on the way. Joe Soward reports that there are rumors of Ricciardo becoming a reserve driver for Mercedes. Guys, if this happens, it will honestly be insane. I absolutely love Daniel Ricciardo, and I think he will be perfect. So, in the 2 years at McLaren, McLaren, Ricciardo's career has taken a big hit. Lando Norris proved in the first year and a half to be much more successful. McLaren has therefore decided to buy out Ricciardo's contract. So, Sauer now reports in his blog that Ricciardo have been linked with the move to Mercedes, but as a reserve driver behind Lewis Hamilton and George Russell. They are the Australian that could work his self-confidence and possibly drive himself into the spotlight for Hamilton's seat. The Britain's contract expires at the end of 2023. A role as a reserve driver would be a big step backwards for the Australian, however. Ricciardo is not the only one with many question marks surrounding him. Silly season has been revived by the whole Oscar Piastri saga, and Pierre Gasly is hoping to get the seat at Alpine. Mick Schumacher might be dumped by Haas, and Williams' search for replacement of Nicholas Latifi might have led Nick de Vries. Silly season proves never to be boring for F1. So honestly, this is going to be an interesting time because, as you all know, at the end of 2018, Ricciardo was considered a great talent in F1 at Red Bull Racing. However, he noticed that the team's preference went more to Max Verstappen, and so he took his chances. Renault seemed a step backwards, but the Australian was undisputed frontrunner there. Yet after 2 years, he closed the door behind him for a new adventure at rival McLaren. So obviously, there is a lot of controversy when it comes to him moving around time and time again where he wants that star spot, and it is hard for him, obviously, being up against someone like Max Verstappen every single time as your teammate. And if you see the team is really pushing towards Max Verstappen over you, it is really hard for you to, I guess, be confident that you're the star in the team. And obviously, that's all Daniel Ricciardo has wanted. Unfortunately, that hasn't happened for him when it came to, racing at McLaren. But I think, even though this is a step backwards, I think it would be fantastic to get someone like Daniel Ricciardo. Obviously, me being from Australia as well, I'm a big Daniel Ricciardo fan, who wouldn't? And I think it's just honestly fantastic and hilarious to be around. So guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. Let me know down in the comments what you think. And yeah, guys, I'll see you soon. Peace.